here. For more information, visit westchestermedicalcenter.org. Call 914-909-6917. That's 914-909-6917.
And now with your latest up-to-date forecast, here's Steve Pellettieri's High on Weather on 1460 WVOX.
Updated by the forecast for Westchester this afternoon. Partial sunshine, but we'll have a slight chance of a sprinkler shower here and there during the later afternoon or early evening. High 61. A possibility of a shower tonight. Nighttime lows 47. Early on Thursday, some clouds. If there is any sprinkles or showers, about maybe early going, but as today wears on, some partial sun. Low 60s again. At night, partly cloudy, 46 Friday. Increasing clouds, looks like rain late day and evening. High 62. Overcast with rain Saturday and later Sunday. Days temperatures upper 50s, lower 60s this weekend. Meteorologist Steve Pellettieri for 1460 WVOX, a Whitney Global Media Station.
Thank you for joining us on 1460 WVOX, America's great community radio station where many different voices are heard in the land. Opinions expressed in our community and open line programs are not necessarily those of the station, its management, or sponsors. As always, we're privileged to amplify the voice of the people here on Vox Populi 1460 and worldwide at WVOX.com for you and yours. People are talking about WVOX.
You guys are my favorite. I love your radio station.
1460 WVOX.
1460.
Stay tuned now for What Happened Here with Rich Thomas. Rich Thomas is the former mayor of Mount Vernon. And now, What Happened Here with Rich Thomas on 1460 WVOX.
Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. My name is Rich Thomas, former mayor of Mount Vernon. You're listening to What Happened Here, where every week we, ask the question, what happened here with a particular situation? And this week we have a phenomenal guest, Stacey Honowitz. She's a 34-year veteran of the Florida State Attorney's Office, and she was the supervisor of Sex Crimes and Child Abuse Unit. So we're going to talk with her about her journey from the Sex Crimes Unit in Florida's Attorney's Office to becoming an author and a well-respected, well-sought-after network television commentator. We're going to talk about parenting and how to engage and nurture young people to be aware and alert of their private space. So definitely want to listen in and call in with questions. The phone number is 914-636-0110. Again, that's 914-636-0110. And we're going to be, going across a whole array of issues, ranging from her new book, as well as some of the signs that we should be looking for when kids may be in distress but do not know how to communicate or articulate that they feel or felt violated. These are very, very, very important issues, and I look forward to talking with Stacey and having her share with us not just her experience in having prosecuted some of the most vile of people in on earth, going after and harming children, but we're going to talk with her about how early education can be one of the best prevention methods to stop abuse before it happens. So definitely looking forward to Stacey calling in and talking with all of us. And if there's anybody out there who wants to talk about different topics that have other questions, be it relating to Mount Vernon, we'll take some off-topic questions, but definitely would love for everybody to focus on our youth. We know that there's a situation brewing right now with a lot of violence in Mount Vernon. Last week, a young child brought a loaded gun to the elementary school. The week before that, a pit bull was inside of a school with there was a man that entered the school with a pit bull, and he was high on PCP. I mean, there's so many, things happening in Mount Vernon schools, and the police, unfortunately, were not as well equipped as they should be, and they've been advocating for more support. We got to support our police officers. But the problem is the parents were not involved. They were not made aware. They were made aware very late. And these are all things that stress a parent out. I mean, in the age of active shooters, you have all these incidents going on, but so much to cover, especially the bully at school being really uncool. Author on the line, Stacey Honowitz. Stacey, thank you for joining. Hey, Stacey, thank you for joining.
Howard, how are you?
Doing tremendous. Well, there's your insight is so timely. I don't know if you heard the lead into this, but there's a lot of bullying going on in the schools.
Right.
From last year in Mount Vernon, it boiled over into a fatality, unfortunately. Unchecked bullying between, rival cheerleading teams. And the cheer captain of one team unfortunately lost her life because of unchecked bullying. And these are high school students. These aren't even younger students, which makes it even more troubling. But definitely would welcome you to the show. Um, Before we dive into some of your books, like The Bully at School is Real Uncool or My Private Parts Are Private, and then you have a third one, Genius with, I'm going to let you discuss that one, which is great. But I definitely want to invite you to just share a little bit about your story, your background. You were 34-year veteran of the Florida State Attorney's Office, supervisor of the Sex Crimes and Child Abuse Unit. Can you tell us a little bit about that journey and then what brought you to being an author?
Sure. I mean, years. Yes, child abuse and that's in all. And we dealt with it case that you're yeah, child rape, home abuse, anything that you probably handle in this world.
Yeah. And I can only thank you for doing that work. I know it must be very difficult to see, this type of behavior happen and the trauma that comes along with it. So I can only say I support you, and I hope everything you do results in the victims not only getting justice but healing. And that's where I saw that your approach to trying to stop abuse is early education. Can you tell us a little bit about the early education aspect?
Or, I mean, these cases, that you can, anybody that's dealt with victims of sexual abuse, child abuse, unsolicited molestation, knows that this is secret for a very long time. It affects every aspect of your life, whether it's mental health, whether it's physical health, never being able to anticipate that these trauma events surface abuse. So I think right, just throw the needle with the people with
Larry Nasser.
Larry now is that, and so you know, want to know if they have the tax rate, and everything, that's where, if you know, someone else, that the chances of you being less traumatized are there.
And that's where, I want to come back to a point you put down. People find it very difficult to believe victims when they're finally speaking up for themselves. And there was a default reaction, like let's just go back to the Larry Nassar case, where you had, celebrities saying, "Hey, look, I was violated." But yet the system that they expected to protect them attacked them. How do you explain that?
So I'll tell you what, everything kind of goes hand in hand. You're a victim. It's why they thought that, listen, I'm gonna leak in this and I'm this guy. Maybe what he's doing is legitimate and I just don't understand it.
Well,
The guy, the clean educate.
Well, we're gonna pick up on that point when we come back from break. We're gonna pick up on that point when we come back from break. We got to make sure we turn that key to education so kids don't get violated or feel victimized or attacked by the system that can protect them. Don't change that dial. We're gonna come right back from break.
This is WVOX.
I'm Catherine Miller, founder of the Miller Law Group in New Rochelle. Divorce is hard. People are uncertain and all kinds of fears come up. Divorce is also complicated. During divorce, you're untangling threads from so many aspects of your life, your finances, your children, your legal status. I believe in taking an integrative approach to divorce because divorce happens at the intersection of where you've been and where you're going. It should point you in the direction that you want to go in, taking into account the things that are important to you, taking into account your children. You have a choice as to how to make those decisions. You can
That happens with Dennis.
do it.
Dennis doing his
Compassion,
the thing that you're doing.
Okay. So I'll move
Focus.
this back.
Anger, with thoughts of revenge. Give
Move
me a
this
call.
back.
Oh, you don't have a phone number on there, do you?
914
No, I
saw it on there.
I'm talking on here. I just have this.
Find me online.
So sound goes here and it has sound here too.
Yeah, that's what's feeding back.
So-
Those are feeding back into that.
All right. So now I'll move it
Yeah.
all the way back like that.
For Sunny
And then
Yeah.
and the Country Club section in the Bronx.
see if that corrects it.
And now back to What Happened Here with Rich Thomas, former mayor of Mount Vernon, on 1460 WVOX.
Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. You're listening to What Happened Here on 1460 on your AM dial, worldwide at WVOX.com. And my name is Richard Thomas, former mayor of Mount Vernon, and we're talking with Stacey Honowitz. She is a 34-year veteran of the Florida State Attorney's Office, supervisor of the Sex Crimes and Child Abuse Unit. Before we went to break, we're talking about evidence and the need to make sure that young people or people that feel victimized by another person, and this, she was talking about the key to stopping it before it either A starts or B gets worse. She was talking about how we need to educate. Now, Stacy, you were putting down a very profound and important point. I know there's a lot of people out there listening. If they want to call in with questions, is it possible for them to call in and talk to you and ask you some questions? Okay. So everybody, the phone number is 914-636-0110. Okay, that's 914-636-0110. If you want to call in and ask Stacy some questions about situations that you may know of, or just get some insight on some national news or local news that can be of interest. But Stacy, education, what can educating do?
Oh my God, no,
Mhm.
now, thing they do, we're, that change, because we're waiting, they're becoming a lot stricter. Because learning about sexual abuse, it's more crucial now than ever. Because what is big, I'm so passionate about getting this word out. I know people don't like to talk about it. It's not a trend. A lot of people make things in their kitchen or learn how to do the latest, machine. This too is something that needs to be influenced. Parents really can't think about it anymore.
I agree 1,000%. And let me tell you that we hear about these stories of even educators getting in trouble for encouraging conversations about some of these topics because they're dealing with it in the classroom. And I can tell the moral conflict that they feel when they see and hear different instances of abuse or bullying, be it from peer to peer or adult to student. It's very complicated. And I just want to, shout out the courage of a local school principal in Mount Vernon that is being disciplined for telling, high school girls and high school boys to stay away from each other and to focus on their books. Now I'm sanitizing it, immensely, but I'm making it very clear that that's the bottom line point. And when you step back and reflect on the curriculum that's being taught and not being taught, home economics, where kids are taught judgment. And some of the topics that you're talking about was covered in home economics, but that was removed from many of the schools in this region. And I can only tell you that it helps to protect people by learning different, home basic skills. And I'll just add one more point. In sports, the sports program in Mount Vernon is very big, basketball in particular. There's a culture of respect that's cultivated over many years, starting in kindergarten. Not necessarily talking about the topics you're talking about, Stacy, but very close to it. But once you get into the high school level, where your body starts changing, the curriculum around basketball culture in Mount Vernon is designed around making sure the players understand and the cheerleaders understand, you have responsibilities and you have to respect each other. And that's something that has been, and basically enmeshed into a value of respect. And you see it in many of the athletes that come through Mount Vernon sports program. So I just want to emphasize that there is a level of education going on, but when it comes to the point of what you're talking about, making sure that that conversation where a young person expresses themselves and that translates into action, or it translates into being documented so action can be taken, a lot of that is unfortunately missing. So is a solution possible? More education at what age? What does that look like? Can you give us some insight on what you believe could be a great preventative tool for different age groups?
Well, I always think that, things have so much that kids are learning so many more things at such an early age now. Just kind of do like
Now we need to pause it right there because we have another quick short commercial break. But I do want to talk about the internet because this is the conversation I have with my wife. How can kids focus if they're only looking at 21-second shorts? And then it's also about topics like pornography. So we're going to talk about that when we come back from break. Don't change that dial. Everybody on Instagram, good to see you guys. We're talking about some hard topics. We hope you can join. Call in.
World and national news. Here's the latest update from AP News on 1460 WVOX.
Ed Donahue with an AP News Minute. At another name, 2024 campaign. I'm announcing that I'm a candidate for President of the United States. Former Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson announced his candidacy in Bentonville, Arkansas. The Biden administration has turned its back on the American worker. To turn our economy around, we have to stop the break the bank federal spending that has led to high inflation and rising interest rates. Hutchinson joins former President Donald Trump, former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley, and entrepreneur Vivek Ramaswamy in the Republican race for president. North Dakota's Republican Governor Doug Burgum signed a bill limiting access to bathrooms, locker rooms, and shower rooms for transgender and gender nonconforming people in several state facilities. The ACLU has said so far this year more than 450 bills attacking the rights of transgender people have been introduced in state legislatures. I'm Ed Donahue.
My brother-in-law died suddenly. Now my sister and her kids have to sell their home. That's why I told my husband we could not put off getting life insurance any longer. An agent offered us a 10-year, $500,000 policy for nearly $50 a month. Then we called SelectQuote. SelectQuote found us identical coverage for only $19 a month, a savings of $369 a year.
Whether you need a $500,000 policy or a $5 million policy, SelectQuote could save you more than 50% on term life insurance. For your free quote, call SelectQuote at 1-800-452-5050. That's 1-800-452-5050. Or go to SelectQuote.com. 1-800-452-5050. That's 1-800-452-5050. SelectQuote. We shop. You save. Full details on example policies at selectquote.com/commercials. And now with your latest up-to-date forecast, here's Steve Pelletieri's Eye on Weather on 1460 WVOX.
Updated by the forecast for Westchester this afternoon. Partial sunshine, but we do have a slight chance of a sprinkler shower here and there during the later afternoon or early evening. High 61. Possibility of a shower tonight. Nighttime lows 47. Early on Thursday, some clouds. If there is any sprinkles or showers, about to get early going, but as the day wears on, some partial sun. Low 60s again. At night, partly cloudy, 46 Friday. Increasing clouds, looks like rain late day and evening. High 62, overcast with rain Saturday. Later Sunday, both days temperatures upper 50s, lower 60s this weekend. I'm in your Mount Steve Commentator for 1460 WBOX at Whitney Global Media Station.
The most powerful 500-watt radio station in America.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
WVOX.
1460 WVOX.
And now back to What Happened Here with Rich Thomas, the former mayor of Mount Vernon, on 1460 WVOX.
Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. My name is Rich Thomas, former mayor of Mount Vernon. You're listening to What Happened Here on 1460 on your AM dial. We're here every Wednesday from 12 noon to 1 p.m. asking the question, what happened here with this particular situation or this, question or that event? And thankfully this week we have Stacey Honowitz, 34-year veteran of Florida State Attorney's Office and supervisor of the Sex Crime and Child Abuse Unit, on with us talking about best ways to prevent abuse, best ways to help educate young people about their rights in their private spaces. But also, before we went to break, we were talking about the internet and how our young people have so much access to information. It is frightening. And as a parent, I can tell you I have this conversation daily with my wife about our young children and how do we regulate it, mitigate, and engage um, you know, their ability to tap into information that they either intentionally or unintentionally, most time unintentionally access. But this is why we have the expert on the line. And if you want to call in the question, the phone number is 914-636-0110. Again, it's 914-636-0110. Now, I know Stacey has limited time, but very thankful for her staying on to talk with us. Stacey, before we went to break, we were talking about the internet and pornography or images of it, very adult content being portrayed in front of our children, and this is something that there's been an evolution. When Elvis was performing, he was banned from Corpus Christi, Texas. And there was a deal where it's like, all right, if he's going to perform, the television can only show him from the neck up.
Right.
And you think about, that could never happen, quote unquote, today. I mean, you got um, Florilla, of I don't even know what her name is, you know, dressed like an LOL doll, but in real life, doing all sorts of crazy stuff. And it's like there's no barrier, there's no limit, there's no ethical, or there's just no filters.
No, there isn't. And, unfortunately, there's the old saying, as you probably know, sex sells.
Mm,
And so we see it in every advertisement. I mean, why is it necessary to have a model topless for a sneaker ad? It just makes no sense. Like, it's going to get the views. If you watch, and believe me, I'm not the biggest prude in the world. I'm not a parenting expert, and I know that I've got to roll with the times. But I also have to know, and I also want your viewers to know, what influence these people have on kids. Because they absolutely do. For an example, I had a kid in my office, I remember right before COVID, and she came in very provocatively dressed. And, I said to the mother, like, she's a little bit young to be wearing it with a very, very short skirt, very short shirt. This this one on TV and that one on TV and that's this one. And look, do I say to the mother, you're the ultimate say in all of this? Of course. I'm also realistic as to how kids react and they want to express themselves and they want to wear what they want to put out. We are seeing an overabundance, sexually explicit things, both on the internet, on television, in all the streaming movies. This is what it's about now. That has become the only way to kind of get somebody's attention is being sexual about certain things. And we just look with regard to showing harmful material for minors, meaning obscenity, meaning pornographic material. People access to it. I mean, say it's the can't never be able to stop sources entities out there that have parental controls for your children on the internet so that they don't have access to certain things. But unfortunately, if they don't see it on the computer, they're going to hear about it in school. And that's, I am so, hell bent on schools knowing what consequences could be out there for the kids. And that's what I think is not pressed enough. I think that if there's a bullying incident, it kind of just wipes under the carpet, like, on the hat on there. So I think the person should go to jail, but, we don't let it happen again. Or if we have cases where there's sexting going on, where somebody's sending a picture of their naked body to another guy at school or a girl at school, and then they disseminate it. Do people realize that that's a crime? I don't think so. And I don't think that the schools, I think they're dealing with enough on their plate, unfortunately. But I think this is something that has to be addressed. Even if, and from sixth grade, I would say, from sixth grade up, through the middle school, through the high school. I think there's something, we focus on math and biology and all the core courses that we've gotten throughout our lives. What about instituting one period a week where you have almost like a counseling session, like where the one class sits down and a mental health counselor comes in and they talk about what's going on, what seems to be an issue, is bullying a trend, getting to know the piece as opposed to waiting for an incident to happen and then trying to cover it up or going to the principal and they don't want the parents to know what's happening. What about practice work? It's kind of like classic. Like, let's get in there beforehand. Let's have discussions. Mental health is extremely important. Let's not wait to have a one-on-one thing. If you
And
come stuff, I think that's great. I think that's wonderful. But what about having a class, mental health class, with their health class or whatever, that talks about issues that are going on? Since it's really important, and I think it would not end a lot of the issues, but it would certainly be helpful to kids that are victimized, that are suffering, that are going through something. Instead, all we hear about is issues that happen kind of after the fact.
and then it's too late.
Then it's too late. So I think that the school and the district, I think, have to kind of come to terms with the fact that it's not just all of us, and the standards we grew up on. Times are changing, and that we need to maybe change the curriculum a little.
And I can't agree more. So let me try and help synthesize some of this and put it in bureaucratic speak. So if there are bureaucrats out there listening, your role is to help administer, but to translate this for you, there's a network that's disconnected. So we need to connect the network of disconnects and make sure that we connect reality to what's going on in the schools, and we help parents and teachers and educators find a way to engage these hard to discuss topics in a way that makes sense. And for the bureaucrats out there that are trying to figure out, well, how do I fund this? Blame COVID. How about that? There's a lot of money out there for COVID. Just say, because COVID, there's a learning lapse, there's an achievement gap, whatever you want to frame it. And we now need to relearn how to be human. And I think that can probably help fund these programs. And I'm not trying to be funny. I'm trying to be, as broad as possible, because there are all these studies coming out saying, oh, COVID caused a delay in their reading and this and that and social customs. So if there is that, then there's funding to address it, because there's all these studies out there. So guess what? Use that as a cover and start teaching young people how to recognize these different home life value skills so we can grow competent and capable adults. I think that's part of the objective of educating.
100%.
But look, I see the cancel mob come out every time and say, oh, don't do that, and it happens in your backyard. And what troubles me is that people go silent, because when the problems do happen, they point the finger, oh, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. Well, I'm the spokesperson for a couple of families that lost young people to violence stemming from the schools and in the streets, and these parents were advocating for their child. They were asking for help, but they didn't get it. On the other end of the spectrum, there are kids that are in situations now and they don't know how to articulate and who to trust. So perhaps there has to be a real focus on this issue because, as you point out, the access to information is endless from TikTok to Instagram Reels to YouTube, Facebook. It's just all over the place, and there's no way to stop this fire hose of imagery from impressing upon young people unless you have that extreme limit on your child's access. So bringing it back to curriculum, how can your books that you publish play a role in helping educators, you know, grapple with some of these, components of the topics? Like you have bullying, one of your latest publications. Can you tell us a little bit about that and start with bullying and then we can work backwards to the private parts?
My written specifically for younger kids because as I'm preaching here today, I think it's think when you teach a child these kind of tenets at an early age, it kind of stays with them. Look, we grew up on nursery rhymes, and so I thought to myself, even as an adult, I won't say my age, I'm an adult. Um, I there's certain nursery rhymes that always are in my head that you remember and then you know. So I wrote this book about bullying because, and I wrote all three books are in limerick form, in rhyming form, so that they send a message that kind of resonates and stays with you. They didn't want to write a book about instructions.
Mm.
Do this. Number two, do this. They didn't. They did it in the form of child who just learns about what bullying is, somebody bullying them. Forms of bullying will be by the computer. It could be someone in the schoolyard taking your toys away, making fun of you, calling you fat, calling you ugly. With these things, it's written in such a manner that these kids might recite these that actually makes send a message.
And that's what we need. We need to sharpen that message and make sure everybody picks up that signal. But don't change that dial. We're going to a quick commercial break, the final break, and this is such an important topic. Please don't change that dial. We'll listen to what happened here.
This is VOX.
There are quite a number of neighborhood flower shops around Westchester County these days. As in all things, some are better than others. And in the Colonial Village Shopping Center up Weaver Street in Scarsdale, just to the north of New Rochelle, there exists a florist of very great style and renown. Colonial Village Flowers specializes in beautiful seasonal flowers arranged in good taste, with the lovely low-key result that all Colonial Village presentations, bouquets, and arrangements look like they were actually grown, collected, and gathered in the natural setting of your own garden. Good taste in flowers has for years been a special trademark of Joe Ward and his talented floral arrangers at Colonial Village, featuring the natural look without pomp or ceremony. So please know that there is at least one flower shop on your classy wavelength. Joe Ward's Colonial Village Flowers at 1515 Weaver Street in Scarsdale. Call 723-2888. That's 723 a 2 and 3/8.
Hi, this is Paul Stevens, the owner of the New York Empire and your host for Chasing History. We'd like to invite you to listen to our program every Friday, 11 to 11:30 a.m. on WVOX 1460 on your AM dial.
This is Gary Levy. Join me every Sunday at 6 p.m. for the Let's Go Trivia Show right here on WVOX 1460 AM, where we take your calls for our quiz off, a 60-second quick-fire trivia challenge. The Let's Go Trivia Show is Sundays at 6 p.m. only on WVOX 1460 AM.
I'm Lucree Ortiz, President and CEO of the Yonkers Family YMCA. Join me on my show, Leaders with Heart, Mondays at noon, right here on WVOX. Hear from us from various industries and how they put their heart to their work. Our show is generously supported by our partners at Yonkers Honda, a family-owned dealership since 1923, celebrating 100 years of service. That's Leaders with Heart. Join me on Mondays at noon, right here on 1460 WVOX.
The nicest two people on the radio, Dennis,
Nasty.
Tommy,
Vicious.
and Good Morning Westchester. Weekday mornings from 6 to 9, right here on 1460 WVOX.
1460 WVOX.
And now back to What Happened Here with Rich Thomas, former mayor of Mount Vernon, on 1460 WVOX.
Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. My name is Rich Thomas, former mayor of Mount Vernon. You're listening to What Happened Here on 1460 on your AM dial or worldwide at WVOX.com. This is What Happened Here. We're here every Wednesday from 12 noon to 1 p.m. asking that question. And this week's special guest is someone we're very grateful and thankful for spending so much time with us going over such an important but not so glamorous topic of sex crimes and child abuse and what you can do to prevent it and try to stop it as much as you can and help protect your children from being harmed and victimized, be it at home or at school or in other places. Stacey Honowitz, she's a 34-year veteran of Florida State Attorney's Office and supervisor of the Sex Crimes and Child Abuse Unit. She's a frequent legal commentator. She's been providing legal analysis for The Larry King Show, Good Morning America, Dateline, NBC, CNN, CBS News, 48 Hours, MSNBC, CNBC. We're very, very lucky to have her on, as well as Fox News. So I just can't thank her enough for sharing her time, but also talking about the books that she wrote. She wrote a few publications, one that she was discussing before we went to break about bullying and how it was designed to rhyme so kids could remember it on the playground when it's time to engage or confront a hard issue. And she has some other books that she's written, and we're going to ask her about those as well. Stacey, we're winding down the final minutes of the show, but can you tell everybody quickly how to find you online? What's your website first? Where can they find your books?
Sure, you can title Bully in School is Really Uncool, My Privates Are Private, or Genius with a Penis Don't Cut. People told me to change the title on that. I refuse to do that because I think it's important for kids to learn the real anatomy of their body. There's nothing shameful in calling your private parts the vagina and a penis, because we teach little kids eyes, nose, mouth, stomach, knees. We can teach them penis and vagina. Again, my message is if you teach them at an early age, it's not embarrassing. It's just a fact. So all three of those books are on Amazon. You can get those there. And I think it's like, Rich, I just want to wind up by saying, Elizabeth, I got a call that I have to go to work. I just want to remind your listeners of one thing. First of all, I appreciate you so much in doing this because it takes a lot for people to want to engage in this type of conversation. So I appreciate it immensely. And I think your followers and your listeners are very lucky to have somebody like you that wants to talk about something like this. Just be mindful that it's important to have open and honest discussions with your kids. There's nothing wrong with it. If you think that there's a problem, go to somebody. If you think your child needs counseling or help, go to somebody. And if you're unsure as a parent as to what to do, you can contact a resource. You can always reach me at StaceyBHonowitz@hotmail.com. That's my email. My website is Stacey B. Honowitz. StaceyBHonowitz@hotmail is my email address. StaceyBHonowitz.com is my website. So, and if anybody needs to get in touch with me, Rick has all my information, so there's not a problem.
Tremendous, tremendous, tremendous. And I know I heard your phone literally ringing off the hook, but I just want to just say any final thoughts. I mean, unfortunately, there is such a thing as being too late. But any final thoughts for parents or people that want to confront this issue?
Like before, you know what? You teach your kids about so many things. Just put this on the list. I'm a parent. I have a responsibility, and my child needs to know about certain things. I would warn them about so many things. Don't talk to strangers. Don't do drugs. I'm going to warn them about this. Be kind to other people. If you see somebody else is being bullied, go ahead and help them out. Ask them if they need help. Ask them if they need to report it. Just don't be afraid, because your knowledge is what's going to move you to do something. Your silence is what's going to cause a problem.
Silence is also a choice, and unfortunately, there are too many people out there being silent. And I know you're not one of them. I'm not one of them. And Stacey, I thank you so much for joining us and sharing such important insight and information about such a very, very, very traumatic topic that really spans years. The few seconds of abuse really changes people's lives, and I can't thank you enough.
It really doesn't. parents, if you're really scared, I'm telling you, it makes it super easy.
I'm gonna give it to the women's club and the Fleetwood moms. I'm gonna put it out there to all of them so they know, because it's hard to talk sometimes to your neighbor about, their child, and it's, I'm going through it now. Fourth grade politics is just is more difficult than real politics sometimes. But
All right, I must.
you got it. Thank you so much, Stacey. Thank you for joining us, everybody. That was Stacey Honowitz. She's an author, 34-year veteran of the Florida State Attorney's Office, a tremendous advocate for people that are victims of sex crimes and abuse, and very grateful and thankful for her being with us today to share insight, um, share ideas, to share stories about her book and why she wrote them and where you can get them. You can get them at StaceyHonowitz.com. That's Stacey, Stacey, Honowitz, HONOWITZ.com. And you can see more about her and her journey to try and protect young people. And it was tremendous to hear her talk about the complexities of some of the laws that are being passed in different areas of the country, including Florida, where she talked about what happens if a young person gets raped, and the abortion laws prohibit them from taking a step to protect them, and to give them the choice to not go through with the birth of the child that came as a result of a sex crime. And those are very complicated issues, but her point is we have to protect young people, and that's something that should happen 1,000% all the time. So thank you, Stacey, for your work, and definitely deserves a lot of support and even a medal for taking on all the different types of heinous activities that go on, and harming young people and people of different ages across the board in Florida. So thank you, Stacey. Now, before we wrap up the show, I just want to, give you guys one more shot to call on any questions, or you want to follow up on some of the points that Stacey put down. The phone number is 914-636-0110. Again, it's 914-636-0110. Now, I'm going to come to, a point that I was making with Stacey earlier about YouTube and Instagram and TikTok. These videos are, the shorts, is what they're called. They're 12 seconds, 20 seconds. And if you think about your brain as a muscle, and it is a muscle that you have to exercise, that's what education is all about. If you're constantly programming your brain to only think in spurts of 12 seconds and 20 seconds, then how can you think beyond 13 seconds or 22 seconds? How can you think more than 30 seconds? How can you concentrate? How can you focus? So, you got to put that into perspective, and recognize that many people, and I'll say even myself included, find ourselves in this wormhole, or this funnel, is what they call it in social media marketing, this funnel of information that just keeps bringing you down and keeps pulling you in, and keeps, tapping into your different views of what excites you or what energizes you. The next thing you know, you're wasting time on mindless activities that don't really contribute to a real discipline or real value. So there has to be, as Stacey was recommending, a greater effort to have a period in school dedicated to life skills. And as I mentioned, use COVID as cover. If you're a bureaucrat, just say, "Oh, COVID did it, therefore we have funding for it." I mean, just take a step back, and let's reintroduce life skills, home economics back into the curriculum, and make sure it's tailored to the right age group. It doesn't have to be, such, adult content at a very early age. At an earlier age, it could be, as Stacey's books point out, these are your private spaces. These are the things that you need to recognize and know, and just stop there. That's enough. And then go to the next one is, how do you know, do time management? How do you budget? How do you call 911? These are all things that, in some circumstances are taught, but they're not reinforced. And this is where, there needs to be a greater appreciation for youth development. I know teachers from time to time take professional development days. And during those professional development days, kids are off from school. They're home, jumping on the couch or on their social media device, whatever, playing video games. Those days should possibly be life skill days. Maybe those days should be a dual role where the teachers are being, engaged through their own means, and then the students have a different type of engagement that teaches them more life skills. I mean, I hope that doesn't defeat the purpose of professional development days, but it does, defeat, the challenge that many parents face, which is, having um, all these forces come after the attention and mindset of their child, and not have the backup from a day-to-day basis at the schools. And I know the schools are struggling because they're limited too. I mean, they can't just, make certain decisions that parents would make. They're doing their best to make the decisions in the framework of an educator. However, I still think that we all as humans have to acknowledge that there needs to be a stronger set of structure and curriculum around life skills in the schools so that we don't have to deal with the issues in such prevalence as we've been seeing. And with respect to, bullying, for example, we've seen bullying have its dire consequences in Mount Vernon, resulting in the unfortunate death of Kayla Green last year. We celebrated her 1 year anniversary of her passing. And I just invite everybody this Saturday coming up at 3 p.m. at 11 West Prospect in Mount Vernon. Kayla's father is launching a father's initiative. So there'll be some information coming out about that. Hope you take a look at it and attend and support, because there's going to be some great events that's coming up, like a trip to Six Flags Great Adventure in Massachusetts. That's going to be sponsored by a few local groups that's supporting the Fatherhood Initiative. So thank you, Reverend Robert K. Williams, and thank you, Marlon Green, for coming together. And we look forward to seeing you all Saturday at 3 p.m. for the Fathers Initiative, launched by Kayla Green's father and a few other fathers that lost their children in Mount Vernon. But again, thank you to our guest, Stacey Honowitz, for her advocacy and her defense of young people and adults in the state of Florida and around the country through her teachings and authors and books. Thank you so much. I'm St. Jack Dow. You're listening to 1460 AM Dow.
America's great community